services initially had a little startup in the 80s with the fire services, but it was never anything that was formal as guidelines requests by emergency medical services standard. From then to 2010, it was more of a dormant service. There was never ever a proper integrated emergency medical services system. This is probably the turning point for EMS development in Guyana. When Minister George Norton took office, this is by no means being patronizing. When he took office in 2015, one of the first things I did, I think that was probably the first documentary review because I was so passionate about getting this done. This is one of the two major turning points in the history of EMS. He took it, he went through it. This is the first time somebody was actually reading my boring document. He read it and he said, Dr. Box, we will have to make this happen. You can't imagine how happy I was. Over the next few months, we thought and went and make sure we did the right channels, go through the right channels with PAHO to ensure this document was worthy of a Guyana system, and it was proven to be worthy. We had started a relationship with the fire services where we were training EMTs. I pitched the idea to my boss, Dr. Norton, and it was surprising to hear. I told him that, the best thing to do is for us to work with fire, have a meeting with fire, and let's discuss the way we can unite these two services so we do not have duplication of resources, and we can serve the interests of the public better. Right away, Minister Norton made contact with Minister of Public Security, Minister Ramjitan, and a meeting was arranged within the same week. This is a second turning point. When he listened to the proposal, he was like, why are we waiting? We should start this and get it happening. So another step in it, these are two ministers who had so many things to do at this point, taking over taking over a new administration, and they saw the vision. They saw what we were trying to do, the bigger picture of getting EMS for the people of Guyana. Minister Ramjitan took over the whole process. He thought it was best, and we agreed, all of us agreed it was best for this to be run through the fire services, given that this is a model that's used in developed system, especially the US. History of EMS, I'm saying this today, that if it weren't for these two ministers, we would not be standing here today.
As we embrace this launch here today, the Guyana Fire Service is cognizant of its role, and its role has not been changed in the preservation of life and the protection of life and property from destruction by fire, dealing with other disaster-related emergencies, and of course, aiding the sick and the injured. What I am very enthused about is that here we are having an amalgamation between the Ministry of Health and the Ministry of Public Security in conjunction with the Guyana Fire Service to now roll out a new rebranded service that takes into consideration all the facets of what is necessary for emergency response, and to ensure that whenever we do this, we do it embracing international best practices and also being able to deliver that public good. We look forward to not only launching this service, but to running this service and improving this service as the time goes. Now, this plan is an elaborate plan for 5 years, and at the end of 5 years, we're supposed to be rolling or utilizing at least 18 ambulances covering the length and breadth of Guyana. The Guyana Fire Service has already started from this year's budget to prepare itself for this. What we are in the phase of doing is converting all of our existing fire stations to have the ability to also move an ambulance service or EMS service at each fire station. And at the same time also, based on the instructions from the cabinet decision and from the instructions from the minister, EMS division has now been created. What we are in the phase of doing now is to amalgamate EMS and fire into one operational standpoint and one operational platform, where emergency call for either fire or medical will be routed to one operations room, and the dispatch will be managed from that room. Training, of course, as we all know, is a continuing feature, and for a new service, I must say that the level of training that I've observed that have been done between May to now has been tremendous. I have seen the commitment of Dr. Box and his team. I've seen the commitment of the Deputy Chief Fire Officer and the team that has been delegated to work along with Dr. Box. That include Mr. Sparman, Mr. LaRose, who is in the training division, and the other supporting officers who would have given their time, given their effort, and made the resources available so that this training would have come to fruition. If we are to roll a service with the expectations of the public, we need to do it only one way. Do it the right way and do it the professional way. And therefore, quality assurance, quality control, and all the tenets of running this service has to be observed. I've been walking along, and my team has been walking along with Dr. Box. We are at the stage of putting the protocols in its right places. We will have a PR rollout so that persons understand exactly what constitutes an emergency medical call. Maybe what should have been done a long time ago has now come to fruit, in that the understanding of emergency services and emergency medical services, including emergency medical services, are not a standalone operation, but it needs these kinds of collaboration and amalgamation so that the different skill sets and the different thought processes and the different resources are come together for the public good. Express my gratitude to the Ministry of Public Security, in particular the Minister. I had two conversations on this topic. One was a telephone conversation. Gently, you know about the EMS service? Yes, sir, it was long ago. What's your take? Sir, it should have been happening already. But you have my blessings. And that was the shortest meeting I had with the EMS service. So when I called Dr. Box after, I said, well, I don't know about you, but I'm a go. He said, good. I'm glad. At least if you were a go, I have to be a go. So what we took from 2011 to 2015 to achieve, we did it in 6 minutes.
You wouldn't know how really proud I am this morning to be part and parcel of history making at this venue in a development that ought to have happened a long time ago. And that is why in about 6 or 7 minutes conversation with our fire chief, I was most positive and gave my affirmation to this thing happening some months ago. The world is becoming a little more complex, a little more sophisticated, and to meet the demands of that new world, Guyana too has to become a little more complex and sophisticated. And in the securing of our people, especially who would have suffered as a result of accidents or other instances where there would have been injuries, it is necessary that we have a brigade of men and women who are going to be skilled in not only that which was the original intent, mainly dealing with the fire or the motor accident, but also being sophisticated enough to take care, to provide the care, to ensure that upon being at the hospital, their chances of survival, their chances of being better recovery will be there greater than as before. And that is why it is especially important that we look outside to see how best we can internationally imitate, whilst at the same time utilizing what we have in Guyana to locally invent that which is going to make those kinds of scenarios better for Guyana. It's not easy. As public security minister, you don't know the strain that you get through, knowing with so much crimes, you have to get a number of assets to do patrols at the border and so many other places. And the revenues for having all of this, very limited right now. So we will need to take some time about it. And yes, you're going to see the benefits by some of your relatives and your friends and your schoolmates, your neighbors and your community people being saved as a result of this advancing the quality of our caregiving as a result of the training and so on that has happened here. So this is but a development that has happened quickly as a result of a decision making that was quick. We feel a lot more people are going to be served and served better. And that is what myself and the Honourable Minister Norton did in relation to this, quickly carried it to the Cabinet, and we have gotten where we are. And as a result of getting here, we are going to make the capacities of our skilled people even greater, but also a good quality caregiving that is going to see lots more people surviving who would have otherwise passed on, and also those who would have taken a long time to recover, recovering in quicker time. There are a couple of things other than that that we have to do. We would have to hire more people. We have to train dispatchers, I understand. We have to approve a communications center. And I want those that are now going to be involved to quickly make those decisions. Having 4 more ambulances staffed with EMTs to be fully functional, to budget and to staff and do the equipment and procurement and all of that. These are things, and I've been given a list here by Dr. Buxton, the fire chief. Yes, we are going to do as best as possible. But I want to let you know that to make all of that happen, indeed, we are going to collaborate at the interministerial level, and we are going to, as best as possible, plea and persuade Mr. Winston Jordan to find those sums that are necessary. So expect as much support from this administration and this development as possible, and expect that in the next 5 years we are going to have this thing national and to an extremely advanced, in an advanced state. And all those who have made it possible thus far, Vanderbilt University, the extra efforts of Dr. Bucks, collaborating with Minister Norton,